So another one of the most popular questions I've been getting lately is literally, what is in your bag, baby? By baby, me. I travel a lot for events, and what I carry with me varies a lot as well. Sometimes I go with just an iPhone, sometimes I go with a bunch of podcast gear, sometimes I go with a bunch of video gear. So now I'm on my way to WWDC 2018, Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, where they show off all the new operating systems and sometimes new hardware. And because there is sometimes new hardware, I'm packing a little bit more heavily than I usually do, starting with the MacBook Pro. Now, normally I am all about the 13-inch MacBook Pro, but if you saw a previous video, you know I've been having a little bit of trouble with the keyboard on that model. And also it doesn't handle hardcore video editing the same way that the 15-inch does, let alone the iMac Pro behind me. And the problem with velocity is that you get velocitized. So once you're used to things being fast, it's really hard to go back. So this time I am packing the 15-inch MacBook Pro. Yes, it's heavier and bigger, but everything about it is also just better, from the bigger screen to the more powerful processors to the better graphics options. So to counterbalance the heaviness of the Mac, I'm bringing the lightness of the 10.5-inch iPad Pro. This has been my go-to travel machine since Apple introduced it at WWDC 2017, almost exactly a year ago. I love this machine so much. It is my go-to for everything from airplanes to coffee shops. It just takes up so little space and it works so well. I love the keyboard. Yeah, the smart keyboard is the best use of taffeta anybody has ever thought of to date. Yeah, you really are typing on taffeta. And it's powerful, it's smooth, it's efficient, it's got LTE, so it's always connected. And when that person in front of you, you know the person I'm talking about, when they bang their seat back, nothing but air for them. They do not come close to hitting this baby. And of course, with the iPad Pro is the Apple Pencil. I've always used it to sketch and doodle, but since they've introduced things like instant notes, instant markup, and now the ability to write right into documents, it's just become a must-have for everything. Then I've got two iPhones. Yes, two iPhones with me. I'm bringing the iPhone 10 because it's just the main phone, the main camera that I use. And I want to have it with me. I want to put the new iOS beta on it day one. I want to see the new features running on Apple's newest iPhone, but I'm also bringing an iPhone 8 Plus with me because sometimes those new betas aren't exactly smooth. I'm already roaming, which is a huge dent in battery life. And when you update to a beta, you have a bunch of debug processes running, libraries get updated, catalogs get updated. There's just so many moving parts that battery life takes a hit for a day or more. And if there are any bugs, I don't want to be left without a functional phone. So backup. I was going to take the gold iPhone 8 Plus, but I got so much static for it on Twitter and Instagram. Fine, I'll bring the red one instead. Same with Apple Watch. I have my Apple Watch Series 3, and I actually don't put beta software on it. In a strange way, Apple Watch has become more important to me than iPhone. I just can't have anything go wrong with it. It's how I keep up with my notifications, it's how I make my payments, it's how I track all my activity, and I need it to be rock solid. So I'm also bringing last year's Apple Watch Series 2, and I'll put the beta on that. If you're curious about the iPad, I just put the beta on that anyway because I have the Mac if anything goes wrong. And yeah, I put the beta on the Mac because I have the iPad if anything goes wrong. And I realize at some point everything will go wrong, but I'm living with that for now. Because battery drain while roaming and while traveling is so real, I have this huge battery backup. Now, this is the latest and greatest from mophie, and it has both USB-A and USB-C. USB-C will charge faster, and as a bonus, I can plug my MacBook into it if I really have to. Now, since I'm going up to the 15-inch MacBook, it probably won't do as good a job for me as it did on the 13-inch, but it's way better than nothing. Because the MacBooks only have USB-C ports, and because I need more than that, I have the Arc hub. This has nothing to do with Iron Man. Tony Stark did not make this in a cave out of scraps, but it really is the pinnacle of dongle life. You have two USB-C ports, HDMI port, SDHC card reader, Thunderbolt 2 port, and two USB-A ports. Up here I have SanDisk's 500 gigabyte SSD. I use that for a lot of the video work I do when I'm traveling because it's really important to have a backup if anything goes wrong and you're at an event. It's not like you can hit rewind and ask Apple to do the keynote or the hands-on area or ask developers to do interviews over again. So I always want to make sure that I'm covered. Over here I have AirPods. I usually do travel with noise canceling headphones as well, but once you have the freedom of no wires, it's also really hard to go back. Airplanes don't take Bluetooth headphones yet, but there's this really cool accessory from 12 South called the AirFly, so I can just plug that into the airplane when I need it, use my AirPods, then toss it in my bag when I don't, and go on using my AirPods all around WWDC. Over here I have the Panasonic GH5, which I really wasn't sure I was going to bring with me. I've gotten really used to just using iPhones when I travel. They shoot at 4K at 60 frames per second, which is amazing. But now that I have the YouTube channel, I've also gotten used to shooting with these, and I want to have it with me just so I have extra options. And I've got the Rode shotgun mic on it turned around so that I can move through, for example, a hands-on room and still talk to it, and I can flip it around if I want to do an interview or something else. And this is going to be sitting on that, which is the large-scale GorillaPod. You can hold it like a handle if you're just walking around and talking to the camera, but you can also set it down on tables. So when I record a video next week, I'll almost certainly be doing it from a hotel room with this camera sitting on that tripod. Over here, I have my podcast microphone. It's a Hale PR40. I'm debating whether I'm going to bring that with me or not. Apple's going to have a podcast room set up at WWDC. So the first show I do from the event will be done from there, but I typically do 2 or 3 podcasts during the week, and I want them all to sound as good as possible. I have done a bunch of guerrilla style podcasting on the road, but I'm never happy with the audio. And this is extra weight, but it really does sound great. And to go with it, I have the Mix Pre 3 audio interface, which to my ears sounds every bit as good as the Pre 2, but it has the advantage of being able to record directly to an SD card. So if I want to do a podcast in a bar or a hotel room or anywhere, I don't have to worry about lugging my laptop around with me or having anything else to record the audio. It can go straight into the interface. As for the bag, I was gonna go with my standard. That's the Toomey Alpha Bravo that Kevin Mitchelluk of Crackberry fame recommended to me. It is deceptively stealthy. It's got a super low profile, but it's got a ton of pockets and it can fit a ton of gear. I've gone to CES, I've gone to iPhone events, and I've packed computers and iPads and cameras and all the cables and everything I've needed right in this little backpack. I only ever use backpacks now because messenger bags, no matter how cool and convenient they are, they just wreak havoc with your back and with your posture, and I can't recommend anyone use them ever. My other option is the in-case DSLR Pro Pack, and I can just fit anything in this. I can fit both GH5s in this along with all of their gear. I can fit my entire podcast setup in it, and while it does become heavy, it stays comfortable, which is amazing. And it's got all these separators in it, so I can make it fit any camera and then reconfigure it, make it fit any microphone setup I want to take with me. It's like Lego for backpacks. The last, but one of the most important things I take with me is something that doesn't weigh anything, something I don't even have to pack. It's Skillshare. So for example, if I need to check out something about video production or audio work, I can do it from anywhere, from any place. It is literally unlimited learning, all you can learn. And right now, because they're sponsoring the show, if you use the link in the description right below, you can get your first 2 months of Skillshare absolutely free. Thank you, Skillshare. So that, along with a ton of power cables and dongles and all the other support gear, is currently what I'm planning to take with me to WWDC 2018. But you still have a few minutes left. I haven't left yet. So if I've forgotten anything, if you have any alternatives to suggest, if there's anything that you just can't travel without, please let me know in the comments. Meanwhile, hit like, hit subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.